And I wanted to ask you what you think of Venezuela, because right now the Americans, they sent in March a delegation to Venezuela to talk about bringing Venezuelan oil back on the market. Well, right now, just a few hours ago, it looks like they've removed some sanctions on Venezuela, not completely, but the idea is that Chevron, which is the American oil company that owns most of the infrastructure in Venezuela, that has the most invested, they're allowed to engage in talks with the Venezuelans. They're not allowed to drill. They're not allowed to do anything else, only to talk. But it's a sign that they're easing sanctions, and they're going to try and replace, I guess, the Russian oil, which was about 250,000 barrels a day that the U.S. was bringing in, with what Venezuela used to give the Americans actually in 2018. There was also the roughly the same amount. What do you think of all that? Because some people are saying, oh, we shouldn't talk to a dictator, but they don't have a problem with energy from Saudi Arabia.
I mean, it's funny. Look, let's start off again with just some reality, because it's not just oil. Venezuelan oil, oil that's produced in Venezuela is not the same as oil that comes out of the ground in Saudi Arabia, which is not the same as oil that comes out of the ground in Iran or elsewhere. It's got different levels of sulfur, different levels. You got sweet oil, you got sour oil, etc. And to refine it requires a specific refining process. So refineries can't just interchange oil. You can't one day go, okay, we got the Venezuelan oil in, shut it up. We got the Saudi oil coming in now. No, the refinery is actually geared for efficiency of operation to handle Venezuelan oil.
Right.
And Venezuelan oil was right there. I mean, so most of the refineries in the Gulf Coast are geared towards Venezuelan oil. And so when we shut down Venezuelan oil, ask yourself why we're buying a specific amount of oil from Russia, but it's not just an amount of oil, it's a specific grade of oil. I think it's called Maduro or something of that nature, because it most closely replicates the chemical composition of the Venezuelan oil, so that the refinery doesn't have to be changed. So we shut down the Venezuelans. We went and bought the oil from the Russians, who were only happy to sell it to us because they make money. But now we're going to shut down the oil from Russia. We haven't yet, by the way. The tankers are still coming because we don't have the Venezuelan oil, and we need the Russian oil because the refinery won't accept anything else. But shh, don't tell anybody that. But now we want the Venezuelans to pump oil and bring it to us. Now, Venezuela's it's an interesting situation here. How we said, why are we talking to Maduro? He's not the president.
Right, that's what I heard.
Why don't we call in Juan Guaido and get him to sign us a wonderful, because Juan Guaido is a puppet and everybody knows he's a puppet, and it's done, finished. Second, we went crawling to Maduro. That was the end of Juan Guaido. He has nothing. The Venezuelans, I think every sovereign country has to make decisions for themselves. I would just say, as an outside observer, I'll start off by saying that Nicolas Maduro is not stupid, and that the people surrounding him aren't stupid. But I'll also say that they are Venezuelan politicians whose responsibility is to the Venezuelan people, not to the people of Iran or the people of Russia or the people of the United States, to the Venezuelan people. And Venezuela has been suffering tremendously. So I think that there is going to be a balance struck, but Venezuela would be foolish to believe that the United States would agree to anything in perpetuity. That whatever the United States is seeking, it's short-term benefit for the United States. But at the end of the day, Venezuela will always be vulnerable to America suddenly waking up saying, well, we don't want to deal with dictators anymore. So, because America is incapable of having a pure business relationship. We have to have strings attached on everything. We have to control everything. We have to own you, dominate you, and compel you to do our bidding when we want. We're not very good with dealing with truly sovereign states that can actually make their own decisions. So Venezuela's got a balancing act to do. I don't think Venezuela is going to totally turn its back on the United States because even the nations that are providing Venezuela support. I mean, right now, I mean, how much, can Russia really provide support now that the international sanctions have hit it? Is it really fair to ask Russia to provide that support? There's only so much support China can provide.
Mhm.
Iran has provided a tremendous amount of support, but Iran's getting ready to maybe rejoin the international community in terms of energy security on its own. So I think Venezuela has to look out for its own self-interest and use whatever leverage it has right now to get the best deal possible from the United States, but in a way that preserves Nicolas Maduro's hold on power. So they're in the catbird seat. They're going to get to call the shots. It's just going to be interesting to see, how this proceeds because the U.S. is really in a bind. They desperately need the Venezuelan oil, but politics being politics, we have people right now in Congress are saying we can't deal with Nicolas Maduro. He's a horrible dictator. He's not even the legitimate president. Juan Guaido was a recognized president. Da da da. We box ourselves yet again into a corner that we're trying to get. The guy I feel sorry for most of all is a guy named Jim Story, American diplomat. He used to be the charge d'affaires in Venezuela. He was the last senior diplomat in Caracas before we cut relations. He then went to Colombia and he's running the Venezuelan interest desk in Bogota. And for a while, his job was regime change. And he's the guy that helped manage all that nonsense about coups and all this stuff. Well, Jim Story had to lead the delegation that had to call.
No way.
And
You're kidding.
This is an honorable man.
Oh no.
He's an honorable man. He's an intelligent man. But he has to implement the policy of the United States, and it just shows you how the U.S. policy has just gravitated from running a coup 6 months ago to crawling on our knees begging for a new relationship today. And if you're the same guy running a coup and they make you crawl, that's just got to make you really, really uncomfortable. And
Yep.
Maduro is sitting there enjoying the whole show, going, "Yeah, baby." Keep crawling. So I feel sorry for him because he's not a bad guy. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But it just shows you how U.S. policy is just literally impossible to defend.
Oh man, that is a real plot twist. I mean, the principle alone, I knew Maduro must be sitting there laughing, but this is really something else. Wow. Oh wow, that's I don't want to be in his shoes. I really don't. That's a big one.